Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for joining us. You're watching our mid-morning edition of Arirang News on this Wednesday, August 12th, coming to you live from our studio in Seoul. I'm Shin Se-min. And before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. Did Russia approve the world's first COVID-19 vaccine? Vladimir Putin says it did, and that one of his daughters had already taken the vaccination. But questions over its safety still lingers. South Korea's job losses extended into July, with the COVID-19 pandemic still draining the country's overall economic performance. The loss of over 277,000 jobs in July marks the longest drop since the 8 months of decline posted 11 years ago. The presidential tickets for 2020 U.S. election are now complete. Democratic presumptive nominee Joe Biden tops Kamala Harris as his running mate, the fourth woman in history to be chosen for one of the presidential tickets. Our starting point this morning, another grim number on the country's job front. South Korea has lost another 270,000 jobs in the month of July, logging the fifth consecutive months of decline amid the economic fallout from COVID-19 pandemic. According to data released by Statistics Korea this morning, the number of employed people in July was 27.1 million, down 277,000 from the same period a year ago. Now, this is the first time since 2009 in the aftermath of the global financial crisis that the figure has been lower on year for 5 consecutive months. Looking at the numbers, the rate of employment for those aged 15 and older was 60.5% in July, down 1 percentage point on year. And this is the lowest figure for the month of July since 2011. Finance Minister Hong Nam-ki, however, said on social media just moments after the data release that although the situation looks grim, July's figures are better compared to the previous 3 months. And as the country also reels from the devastating flooding and torrential rainfall that had battered the country for the past week or so, the South Korean government and the ruling party said they will use all possible means to help support the recovery efforts, and that includes additional financial aid.
The government has decided to double the amount of natural disaster relief in the case of death and double the amount of flood support aid.
The spokesperson added that the government will do its utmost to completely support the recovery work and that it won't just be a patch-up, but instead a full-scale, long-term recovery plan. As for drawing up another supplementary budget, the government and the ruling party said it will later decide on that issue, and if agreed, that would be the 4th extra budget already to be drawn this year alone. Another reshuffle at South Korea's top office this morning. President Moon Jae-in has tapped Chung Man-ho, a former vice governor of Gangwon-do province, as his senior secretary for public communication. The top office says Chung was chosen for his extensive experience, including in journalism, as well as serving as a presidential secretary during the previous Do Mu-hyun administration. For Senior Secretary for Social Policy, the president named Yoon Chang-ryul, an official at the Office for Government Policy Coordination, citing his role in policy implementation regarding various social issues. The reshuffle comes after 6 of President Moon's top aides offered to resign last month, taking full responsibility for the quote, recent situation, likely referring to the sharp decline in the administration's popularity due to real estate policies. And with that, 2 more appointments are likely. The top office has yet to announce replacements for the president's chief of staff or senior secretary for personal affairs, who have also offered to resign. Russia has become the first country to approve a COVID-19 vaccine after less than 2 months of human testing. The drug, named Sputnik-V, pays homage to the world's first satellite Moscow launched during the Cold War time. And President Putin even says his own daughter has already been vaccinated. Our Lee Kyung-eun with the details.
Russia has declared victory in the global race to make a COVID-19 vaccine. On Tuesday, President Vladimir Putin said Russia is the first country to approve a vaccine. Developed by the country's Gamaleya Institute, the drug is named Sputnik-V, in homage to the world's first satellite Russia launched during the Cold War. Putin said the drug underwent necessary tests and forms a lasting immunity to COVID-19, adding that one of his daughters was also given it. However, the authorities have not yet provided data on the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. The approval comes without going through the final Phase 3 trial, which involves tens of thousands of people being administered it over a months-long period. This has prompted experts to raise concerns.
And if the reports of the vaccine so far having been tested on a few dozen people are true, then that is way too early in the process to actually approve a vaccine. It may be promising, but we may be taking it a step too far in terms of any regulatory approvals at this stage.
The international community remains largely skeptical too. In response to Russia's announcement, a U.S. top health official said the point is not to be the first. Germany also echoed the pessimism, pointing to a lack of information. The World Health Organization says it's in discussions with Moscow calling for an objective assessment of its safety and effectiveness. Despite concerns, Moscow says it will first voluntarily provide the vaccine to medical staff and then to teachers. It expects to mass produce the drug by the end of the year. 이경은, Arirang News.
And after New Zealand was hailed globally as one of the safest places during this COVID-19 pandemic, the country has reported its first cases of domestic transmissions in over 100 days. And countries like Greece and Cuba are also battling a resurgence. Our Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
New Zealand reported its first local transmissions of COVID-19 in 102 days on Tuesday, as authorities found 4 cases in one household in Auckland. These new cases put an end to the country's COVID-free status, which was declared on June 8th, after which it has been praised as a global exemplar in containing the virus. The country's prime minister stressed the need for a much more precautionary approach, as their sources of infection have yet to be identified.
In line with our precautionary approach, we will be asking Aucklanders to take swift action with us. As of 12 noon tomorrow, Wednesday, August 12th, we will be moving Auckland to level 3 restrictions for a period of 3 days until midnight on Friday.
This means people in the country's largest city will be asked to stay home, while many businesses, including bars, will be closed. Until Tuesday, the only known cases of the virus in New Zealand were 22 travelers who had recently returned from abroad and were in quarantine. Other countries which once had the virus under control are also battling a resurgence. Greece, which had been managing the outbreak with fewer than 50 new daily cases until last month, reported 202 new cases on Sunday. To this end, Greece is imposing a curfew on bars and restaurants until August 23rd and will mandate all foreign entrants to submit a negative COVID-19 test result within 72 hours of entry. Cuba has also reimposed partial lockdowns as it added 93 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, the largest number of new daily cases since the first case was reported in March. The government said beaches, restaurants, bars will be closed in Havana for the time being. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
South Korean Trade Minister Yoo Myung-hee, who is running for the top job of the World Trade Organization, has vowed to make the global body more relevant, resilient, and responsive. Speaking at a virtual meeting hosted by the Washington International Trade Association on Tuesday local time, she explained that global trade is confronting challenges posed by protectionism. She also explained that the current system wouldn't work, pointing out that the need for restoring the WTO's dispute settlement function. U.S. presidential candidate Joe Biden has picked Senator Kamala Harris as his running mate for the November 3rd election, making her the first Black and South Asian American woman on a major U.S. party's presidential ticket. Shortly after the announcement, President Trump blasted Harris as, quote, disrespectful and admitted he was a touch surprised by the Biden's camp's decision. Our Kim Jae-hee tells us more.
Joe Biden says he's proud to have Kamala Harris as his running mate for the 2020 presidential election. Biden tweeted Tuesday that Harris is a fearless fighter and one of the finest public servants in the U.S. Harris tweeted that she felt honored, adding Biden will unify the American people and build an America that lives up to people's ideals. Born to Jamaican and Indian immigrants, the 55-year-old former California Attorney General is the only Black woman in the Senate. She would become the first woman in U.S. history to serve as vice president should Biden win in November. Harris dropped out of the race for the Democratic ticket late last year and repeatedly clashed with Biden during the debates. But some watchers say that by choosing Harris, Biden adds some generational diversity and could attract more Black voters to side with him. President Trump said he was a little surprised by Biden's pick. However, he denounced Harris, accusing her of being far left and saying she did very poorly when she ran for nomination.
So I was a little surprised that he picked her. She was very disrespectful to Joe Biden, and it's hard to pick somebody that's that disrespectful when...
Former U.S. President Barack Obama said Biden nailed the decision, saying Harris, who he's known for a long time, is more than prepared for the job. Kim Jae-hee, Arirang News.
Shifting focus, when the first senior U.S. government officials in decades visited Taiwan earlier this week, it sharply raised already spiky relations between Washington and Beijing. What could this visit mean for the U.S., China, and Taiwan going forward? Our Lee Seung-jae tells us more.
U.S. Health Secretary Alex Azar's visit to Taipei this week was the highest-level American visit to Taiwan in decades. However, the visit also indicates the importance of Taiwan amid the deteriorating relations between Washington and Beijing. Azar's visit is considered a diplomatic coup for Taiwan and an opportunity for Taipei to showcase its widely praised response to COVID-19, an achievement it boasts despite efforts by China to diplomatically isolate the island. The visit is considered by China as another provocation by the U.S., especially at the most volatile time in their relationship in decades. China sees interactions between Taiwan and the U.S. as a challenge to its sovereignty and in defiance of its threats to unify the island with mainland China by force. For the U.S., the visit was a chance to take a jab at China.
I believe it is no exaggeration to say that if this virus had emerged in a place like Taiwan or the United States, it might have been snuffed out easily, rapidly reported to public health authorities who would have shared what they knew with health professionals and with the general public.
The U.S. and Taiwan also have another thing in common: their opposition to the World Health Organization. The U.S. recently decided to end all funding to the UN Health Agency, while Taiwan has long been angry about being snubbed by both the WHO and China. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Furious protesters in Lebanon are demanding that the country's president resign, blaming the government for last week's devastating explosion in the capital of Beirut. The protests entered a fourth day as of Tuesday, with people taking to the streets at the port of Beirut to commemorate the scores of people killed and thousands more injured by the blast there exactly a week ago. The fresh protest came a day after the prime minister and the rest of the government there stepped down, taking responsibility for the incident. The blast is believed to be caused by tons of ammonium nitrate stored in a warehouse for a prolonged period of time. The protesters blame the government and entrenched corruption for the disaster.
Good morning. The monsoon rain we've been seeing takes a break today. Then heat wave alerts are in place across the southern and eastern parts of the country. And warning remains for Daegu and parts of Gyeongsang-do and Gangwon-do provinces. In fact, most regions under heat alerts also had tropical nights, with the mercury remaining above 25 degrees Celsius throughout the night. And by the afternoon, Daegu could soar to 35 degrees Celsius, Gyeongju at 33 degrees. But you still need an umbrella for today, because there will be passing showers for most inner regions, and it could rain heavily, 20 to 80 millimeters from this afternoon, and Jeju could see rain through tonight as well. And tomorrow, there will be another band of sporadic rain in the central region. Then a last blast of monsoon rain will return on Friday and drop showers until Sunday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that is a wrap for us at this hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines coming up at noon Korea time, so stick around. Thanks for watching and goodbye.